Okay, this is just from after booting up the system and hitting delete a few times before it changes over to the OS loading screen. So this is the I guess front page of the BIOS settings. These will be the most basic settings you'll need to install Windows after. No, this will be before installing the video card. A video card. Any video card that's not on board. Alright, go to MB Intelligent Tweaker MIT. Do not need to change anything here. Go to Standard CMOS Features. Drive A needs to be changed from 1.44M to none. There seems to be a bug with the Windows operating systems and installing the OS when any floppy drive is enabled. Go to Advanced BIOS Features. Okay, IGX configuration needs to be changed from UMA, which is the onboard graphics, to disabled. And let's see here, in a third boot device, which would have started out as floppy needs to be changed to disabled. Password check, do not need that. HDD smart capabilities enabled to disabled. I mean from disabled to enabled. You can also enable backup BIOS image to HDD if you are not sure that you will flash something correctly or if a virus corrupts your BIOS. So set that to enabled, and from init display first, from on-chip VGA to PEG, which is the PCI Express card, and hit escaping. Integrated peripherals, you don't need to change anything here, well, except for the on-chip SATA type, change from native IDE to HCI. This is part of a command queuing thing where it helps with multitasking with your hard drive. AHCI, this needs to be set before OS is installed and cannot be changed after the OS has been installed. So you have to go with either the more advanced option, which is the AHCI, or never change from the native IDE. But I'd recommend the AHCI. Onboard line function enabled. Everything else should be left as it is. And I do like to disable the onboard serial port. Power management, I left everything here disabled, or I did not change any of the options on this screen. There's really no need to change any of the options on the screen, except for if you like the power on by mouse and power on by keyboard, which are interesting things if you read about them here, but otherwise I'd leave everything the way it is for this particular page. PMP PCI configurations, this is some really old school stuff, setting up IRQs and PCI cards. I left everything as it is. And PC health status, there's one thing you can change here, but finding out that the CPU, or this CPU, and should be your CPU, is good enough to run at 3.5 gigahertz without any serious changes to the BIOS, except for if you want to be extra safe, you can crank the fan speed up from a variable speed to from variable speed to full blast, which is done by going to CPU smart fan control from enabled to disabled, but seems to run well enough with it enabled, which is more quiet. And living in Pennsylvania, it is really not needed to be set to disabled, but Arizona, I am not sure. And that's about it for the most basic functions. Go to save, exit, and setup, enter, enter, and then you'll be greeted by a blank screen because this is before you've actually installed the video card. So install the video card now, and well, after you reboot from saving to CMOS and exit, hit yes, everything's saved, and then it'll give you a blank screen, no noises, nothing, because there's no PC speaker on this particular computer. After it reboots, it's gonna not do anything because you'll need to change from the onboard to the PCIe video card, which you should do now. And after you have everything connected, it should boot to Windows, or boot to the Windows install. One more thing before you get started with installing Windows, a good idea is to go to Advanced BIOS Features and go to First Boot Device and go back to and change it to Disabled, which makes loading the OS more automatic than it is, but it also works with the first boot device to hard drive enabled. So that's where I am now. Alright, hard drive enabled for the first boot device is possible, but sometimes it throws you off. But most of the time, installing from a clean hard drive first boot device can be enabled as a hard disk, and the second boot device is a CD-ROM, which will automatically change over to first boot device if you disable the first boot device as hard drive. Sometimes you need this setting to be set to the CD-ROM being enabled as the first boot device, sometimes you don't. But a major concern with installing Windows is you need to disable third boot device, which defaults as floppy, and standard CMOS features drive A, which is none. Okay, that's that, and I'll be back with a quick run of the overclocking features if you do care about that kind of stuff. Alright, see you in a minute.